Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello! Okay, I am so freaking excited to film this video. Candle of the day, coconut sandalwood. It doesn't even matter because today's video is one that I literally never thought I would ever get the experience that I got this weekend, and I cannot even contain my excitement, okay? If you're normally here for like commentary or makeup content, I get it. This is wedding content, okay? I don't do this a lot. I'm really trying not to annoy people with wedding content because I know it's not some people's cup of tea. However, I had an experience this weekend and I just want to talk about it. This past weekend, I went to New York City and I got to go to Kleinfelds. The store has actually been around for like decades. They used to be in Brooklyn and then they moved to Manhattan, and then they were featured on the show that is on TLC called Say Yes to the Dress, which I have been watching since I was 14 years old. And so it's kind of this like famous bridal boutique. I know some people think it's like overrated or it's like not cool anymore because everybody gets hype about it, but like I'm a basic gal. Like I get excited about things other people do. I don't care. I was freaking excited to go to Kleinfelds, like so excited. And there's a little bit of backstory before I jump into my actual, I'll do timestamps on this video because I have a feeling it's going to be kind of long. There's a little bit of backstory into how I ended up at Kleinfelds. A lot of you might remember that a few months ago I found my dress, and that was my dress, and I had already had a wedding dress, so some of you were probably a little confused as to why I even went to Kleinfelds in the first place. So let me explain. I was initially supposed to get married in July of 2021. That is like a couple of months from now. So when I got engaged in February of 2020, I started looking at dresses pretty quickly. I went to David's Bridal like a couple weeks after getting engaged, and then the pandemic happened, and then I couldn't go dress shopping for a few months, and then in the summer I really like hammered down and tried to find my dress. I ended up finding a dress in a kind of unconventional way. I had been to a bunch of different dress places. I actually have a whole video talking about wedding dresses I didn't pick, and I'll link that down below if you guys want to watch it. It's kind of a fun video, but I went to a bunch of different places. I tried a bunch of different dresses, and the one dress that I really fell in love with was this dress. I guess I can show you a picture now because I'm actually not wearing this dress anymore, so I'll show you. But it was this dress. It was by a designer named Lazaro, and I fell in love with this dress. It basically was this type of glitter tulle that I had never ever seen before. I'll show some video of what it looked like in person. I maintain, even though this is not the dress I'm going to end up wearing, that the fabric on this dress is unreal, like out of this world. It was so different, so unique, nothing I had ever seen before, and I loved it. And how I found this dress, I was searching websites and I was like looking at Pinterest, and I saw this dress, this Lazaro dress, and I was like, I love this. Like, I love this dress. And so I found out that the literal only place near me that had this dress was this small little boutique kind of close to where I live. And so I went to this boutique, and the problem was the only size that they had in this dress in the store was like a size 6. I am not fitting in a size 6. So I couldn't try on the dress. All I could do was like put it over my body, and they could show me what it was going to look like on. That's all they could really do. They couldn't like really, I couldn't put it on. I couldn't see it on me, but I was so obsessed and like in love with the way that the design looked and the way that the fabric looked and the way, like I was just so obsessed with this. It was really just the material, honestly. Like I was so obsessed with this material because I thought it was so freaking pretty that I was like, you know what, even though I can't try this on, I kind of knew as like a plus size bride that that might be the case for me, that I might not be able to try on all the dresses that I wanted to. So I was like, okay, even though I can't try this on, I'm gonna get this dress because I just feel like this is the dress, right? So I got it, and when I bought it, I did know that there were going to need to be alterations. Like I knew we were gonna have to do some customizations. I knew there were gonna need to be alterations done to the dress. I did not anticipate what was going to end up happening. So the dress came in, and I went with my mother-in-law and my mom to like go try it on and do the first fitting. This isn't really related to why I'm not wearing the dress, but I will say the people that I bought the dress from and the people that own this boutique were just like really rude to me. Like they just like, I feel like I'm not normally one to complain about like customer service stuff. Like I try really hard not to, but they were two women and they were just like not nice to me. Like I feel like it's very easy to make wedding dress, people in wedding dresses feel pretty. It's like you're wearing like beautiful gowns. It's like an easy job to like make somebody feel pretty. And they just made me feel like not pretty. Like they made me feel like I didn't look good. They made me feel like the dress like wasn't working. Like I just had I left crying, and I'm like not usually like that, but I left like really emotional about it because I just felt like I had a really weird and like bad experience with it. And regardless of that though, I put the dress on and I just like was so deflated because seeing it on me and seeing it hang in the places it was gonna hang and seeing where everything fit, and then having to see the like mountain of alterations that needed to be done to even make it not even like pretty, it was making it less pretty doing the alterations to like make it wearable for me to like look even somewhat decent was a lot. And so I started getting really discouraged because I still loved the material and I still stand by that I think this is like the prettiest material. Like I absolutely love the pink. I love the way it sparkles. I loved all of that, but I just felt bad about it. And I was like really regretting the decision. I was like, I cannot believe my one wedding dress, I like screwed this part up. However, I was gonna just deal with it because my wedding was approaching and I was like, you know what? You made your decision. Like at the end of the day, it's a dress, like you're gonna be fine, whatever. Flash forward to January. I hadn't even started alterations yet because they say you're supposed to do it like 6 months out. So I was gonna start in like February with the alterations. January comes. We decided to push our wedding a year. I was still sticking with this dress at this point in time. There was not a thought in my head of like, oh good, now I get to switch dresses. Like that's not what the intention was. However, and I think I talked about this too when it was happening, I know that this is so stupid in comparison to everything that was happening. Like this is not a problem that I like, oh, I couldn't go to Kleinfelds. Like it's not a problem, but I was genuinely very sad that I couldn't go to Kleinfelds to find my dress or at least look at dresses because my entire life since I was 14, I have watched Say Yes to the Dress, and because I live so close to New York City, I wanted to go to New York City and find my dress. I wanted to go with my mom. My mom also loves the show, and I had this vision in my head my whole life that like I was gonna go to Kleinfelds and I was gonna end up there and like that's where I was gonna find my dress. And so at the time when I couldn't do that, I was really upset. It was, again, I know there were so many other big things going on, but you know how they always say like there's those little things about like the pandemic that like sometimes you just have to allow yourself to be upset. I was genuinely kind of bummed about it, but I thought I'd find my dress elsewhere, whatever. So I've been following Kleinfelds on Instagram since like before I even got engaged. Like I was already following them because I loved their dresses and I wanted to go there. And I was scrolling through Instagram and I happened upon this dress and I saw this dress and literally I have never been so like entranced by a dress in my entire life. I'd never seen a dress that was as beautiful as this dress. I didn't even know they made dresses that looked like this. Like I was like enthralled by this dress. So this was in January. So I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking about it. I kind of was like, okay, this is when the vaccine started rolling out. We still weren't sure exactly what was going to happen, but the vaccine was starting to roll out and everything was starting to kind of happen with COVID and everything. And I talked to my mom about it and I talked to my mother-in-law about it. And I said, why don't I make an appointment just to see, just to look. Why don't we make an appointment to try to go to Kleinfelds in May, COVID permitting? Like that was always how this trip was going to be, was COVID permitting, because obviously if we weren't vaccinated, if numbers were high, if there was any like substantial risk, we would not have gone, obviously. But because it's Kleinfelds, the appointments book out so far in advance, we were like, okay, let's make this Kleinfelds appointment. I was like, worst case, it's May. I don't find a dress there. I just wear this pink dress. I just figure it out. Like it's whatever. But I really want to try on this one dress that I have found on Instagram that I love. And I texted my mother-in-law about it and she said, you had me at Kleinfeld. I was trying to like explain it to her because she knew that I already bought the dress and I didn't want to seem too flip-floppy, but she was like, you had me at Kleinfelds. Like we're going to Kleinfelds, like let's go. And my mom was obviously on board. So we obviously got vaccinated. And then about a month and a half ago, they said that you didn't have to quarantine for the 2 weeks. This is what I was waiting for. They said you didn't have to quarantine if you came to New York City, even from out of state, but also in state, I still would have quarantined. But they said you didn't have to quarantine if you're vaccinated and you go down. And so I felt really good. And I've been looking at the numbers and everything. We felt good about going. So the trip was on. Okay. So that is the backstory of how this all came to be. So now I'm going to tell you about what this past weekend was like. Spoilers. Magical. It was magical. It was wonderful. I'm going into Kleinfelds and initially I I wasn't 100% sure if I found like my dream dress, if I was going to buy it, because I didn't want to make too impulsive of a decision again. I wanted to like take a minute, take pictures, really think about it, but I also was like open to the idea as well. So I was kind of like going one way or the other. How it works at Kleinfelds is you make an appointment through their website, and then as you kind of lead up to your appointment, they send you some forms to fill out. So like it had questions just talking about like, what is your budget? Where's your venue? What's your groom's name? They had a place where you could put screenshots of pictures of dresses. And actually, I didn't know this, which sucks, but my consultant, like 2 days before my appointment, reached out to me via email. I didn't get the email. It was in my spam folder, but she reached out to try to call me. So they were very like proactive about trying to make the appointment as efficient as possible, because what I'm assuming is you only get 90 minutes for the appointment, and I'm assuming they're booked pretty closely back to back. So I think their goal is to give everybody a really good experience, but also you're kind of on that time crunch. I made my appointment and everything, and what was funny was I made my initial appointment for this current coming weekend, and my mother-in-law couldn't go to that. She had like had something planned already. So I changed it to this past weekend, which actually ended up working out perfectly, because unbeknownst to me when I booked it, but I found out a couple of weeks later, the trunk show that was happening that specific weekend was the plus size bridal trunk show. If you don't know what a trunk show is, it basically just means that they have a lot of a certain type of something. So like on the floor for you to try on. So if they're having like a Panina Tournée trunk show, that means they just have a bunch of her designs ready for you to try on. For me, this was perfect that it just so happened to be when I was going, they were having a plus size trunk show, because that meant that a lot of styles and designs of like these really nice designers, they had them in plus sizes there for you to try on, whereas most days they wouldn't have had as many options. I will say, just as a side note, Kleinfelds is kind of known for their very diverse size range, so they are very plus size inclusive, which was one thing that really drew me to them. But I think it's really cool that they have the plus size trunk shows too, just as like an added sort of, there's gonna be a lot of options for you. Like not just the limited stuff you see all the time, but there's gonna be even more than there normally would have been. So that kind of just worked out perfectly. So how we did it was, because I live in Rochester, so it's like a 5.5 hour drive to the city, 6 hours depending. So we went down the day before, stayed the night, went to Kleinfelds, and then went home the next day. So the day before we drove down, everything was great. And then the day of my Kleinfelds appointment, we like did a little bit of shopping, and then we headed over there. We got there about 15 minutes early, and I will say to their credit, they were there like right at 3 o'clock. That's when my appointment was. They were ready to go. And I have to say, it was super surreal. Like we pulled up, and just to see the front and like see where they shoot the show and where everybody walks in from, and like we looked at the window displays, which were super pretty. We were very touristy. We took like a ton of pictures, because me and my mom and my mother-in-law are all very big fans of the show. So we like took a bunch of pictures, and we were like really into it. It's not like weird, because like everybody there was doing those things. Like everybody had their cameras out, and everybody was really excited to be there. And the energy in the lobby was really cute. So we got there, and they asked us to wait in the lobby. The lobby, I will say, was the way they did it was amazing. They had it sectioned off with like plexiglass. So basically every person in their party, you were only allowed to bring 2 people because of COVID. So every person in their party kind of just had their own little waiting section that was perfectly sectioned off and like distant. I have to say, just in general, their COVID procedure was phenomenal. I was like super, super pleased. Some dress places I've been to have not been so great. They were super good about masks, super good about all of that. The one thing that was fun was when you walk in, you kind of have like, if you watch the show, you know the big like room where they have all the dresses, the big showroom, you could kind of see it out of the corner of your eye. And even I was kind of like, because it was so beautiful to see in person. Like I know everybody walks in on the show and they're like, oh my God, it's like a dream. It really is like a dream. Like every beautiful, sparkly, amazing dress you could ever imagine seeing was like right in front of me. Like it was really, really cool to see all of those things. And we were able to like stand up and like kind of sneak in and like get pictures and stuff. And you could see all the brides like wearing their dresses, and everybody looked so beautiful. And again, it was just a really positive environment. For how many people were there, which it was pretty full, like the lobby actually was pretty packed. For how many people were there, it was all very like positive and bubbly, and like everybody was just excited and like in a good mood. It was kind of funny because Lisa, who is another kind of consultant from the show, there's consultants that work there that obviously aren't in the show, and then there's the ones that work for the show. So there was kind of like Lisa walked out and everyone was like, like We were like, oh my God. And she was very sweet, and she had like the bride that was next to me. And then Debbie came out, who is also on the show, and she was my consultant, and I met her, and I was very good. I wasn't trying to fangirl or anything, but I was really excited. And the thing I will say was like right off the bat is that it is so crazy. I guess I didn't think this is what it would be. It is so crazy how similar the experience that they show on the show is in real life. Like the way that they go the extra mile for people on the show, and the way that they bring out like designers and designer assistants from the back room, all of that happened, okay? So Debbie took me and my party back, and we were in we weren't in like the main showroom, we were kind of in like an off the side showroom, and I found out after the fact we were actually at the fitting room where they filmed Say Yes to the Dress, which was so freaking cool. It had like all the studio lights and stuff, but we got to go there. She talked to me about like my budget and kind of what my vibe was for my wedding, and then I told her about how I already had a dress, but I just didn't feel great in that dress. And so right from the start, you could tell she's heard that I already had a dress, and you could tell that she like knew the right questions to ask. Like she was like, okay, what didn't you like about that dress? Like what made you change your mind about that? And I told her kind of what I was thinking about it, how I wanted like kind of a different sleeve, how I wanted a different silhouette. And then she asked for a picture of the Lazaro dress that I had already owned. And then she also asked if there's any dresses that I was like specifically interested in. So I showed her that one from, I'd saved it on my phone, the one from Instagram that I was like obsessed with that kind of made me want to go to Kleinfelds in the first place. And she was like, we have that, that's perfect. And actually that dress was sitting like right off to the side of the room. Like it was the first dress she really showed me. She was like, oh, this is the dress. Do you like it in person? And I was like, yes, beautiful. So then she took me around the showroom, and I got to pick out a few different things that kind of jumped out at me right off the bat. I was kind of in an interesting position because I either wanted a strapless dress that I could add off the shoulder sleeve to, or a dress that already had the off the shoulder sleeve. And for plus size brides, I've noticed a big thing they do is kind of the halter top version, which I think makes a lot of sense because I would think that that's like a flattering silhouette. But just for me personally, I prefer something off the shoulder. So right off the bat, it was a little hard to find things, but I found like a few different dresses that I really like. And so she pulled them for me, took them back to the room. It was very funny because the dressing room was actually kind of small, and the dresses took up so much space because they had so much volume. The very first dress I tried on, I'll show you guys a picture of that. I really liked this dress. It was pretty. At the top especially was so beautiful, and you could tell just like the quality of craftsmanship that was there because it was so well constructed and well made. It held everything together really nicely. It had like this beautiful intricate beading and detailing on it, but I just wasn't crazy about the overall vibe, and I also wasn't super crazy about the skirt on that dress. I also felt like because of the way that like the boob was cut, it was just a weird fit. Like I wasn't like vibing with that one as much. And this is one thing I noticed too with Debbie as my consultant. She was very good at like taking my reaction in and like matching that reaction. Like how she would do it is I would step into the dress, and then she would come in and like help me like tie it up or kind of, you know, clip it in or whatever. And then she would kind of step back and she'd be like, well, what do you think of this dress? And then I would kind of give her my reaction. So for that one, I was like, meh, it's kind of meh. Like I don't love it, but I want to show them just to see what they think, but like I'm not obsessed with it. And she was like, yeah, you know, and she like pointed out things that I was thinking. Like she was like, you know, I think the bodice is kind of a weird fit, which is exactly what I was thinking. And I was like, yeah, same, Debbie. So I went out, we took pictures of the dress, but we were kind of like, no, this one's probably not it. So then she was like, let me go in the back really quick and look and pull something because I have an idea. And I was like, amazing. This is what I came here for. And so then she brought out a freaking panina dress. And I will say, I told her when we were like talking about everything, I was like, I want to go big. I want to try the stuff that's different. So, and I wanted something like crazy. So she pulled out this panina dress, and right off the bat I was like, oh my god, because it was literally holographic. I've seen the panina dresses on the show, and I feel like Panina Tournée is kind of somewhat famous with Kleinfelds, especially if you're really into the show. A lot of my Instagram comments when I posted about being there was like, did you get a panina? Because I feel like everybody knows about panina. I've heard a lot about her beading before from the show, and just in like online forums I've heard a ton about her beading, but in person I have to say, like even the pictures I'm gonna show you, it really doesn't do it justice. The beading is truly like out of this world, like next level beading and like stonework and like just so incredibly stunning. Like I was not prepared for how holographic and blinding this beadwork and this, it wasn't even beads, it was literally gems. Like it's just gems everywhere. And so I was like, well, I'm obsessed with that. Like that's shiny. I love it. And so we took that into the room. I took off the other dress and then I put that one on, and right off the bat, I loved this dress. It had a corset back, which I loved because it did a lot for my figure. And it also had a drop waist, which I also really liked. Hit so perfectly too. Like it was a little bit of a drop waist. So obviously this dress wasn't the right size, so it was kind of falling out of it a little bit. But she assured me that in the right size, it would kind of hit the curves perfectly and all of that. And I really loved this dress. I stayed in this dress for probably 10 minutes. I was like just staring at the shimmer and I really loved it. And then she also showed me what the dress would look like with like that drape sleeve. She like grabbed some of the scraps of panina and showed me what that would look like. And that also made me really love it because I loved the drape sleeve. But there was something about it I just didn't like love. I think it was really just the fact that it was so plain on the bottom that even though the top was so wow and like amazing, it just looked a little plain. She showed me what it would look like if I had a glitter tool on the bottom. So if the bottom was like a little bit more sparkly, and that also didn't feel right. I think this is like the perfect dress for someone. It just like wasn't me. Like I was not the right person for this dress. I needed something that was a little bit more dramatic. I also wasn't obsessed with how, and I know this is gonna sound bad because like I know people are like against ball gowns and think they're lame. I love a good ball gown. And for me, I knew that I wanted something maybe a little bit more dramatic and like poofy and a little bit longer of a train. And honestly, in the back of my head, I was still thinking about this dress that I had seen on Instagram. And so even though I really liked this dress, I was like, and my mother-in-law was loving this dress. Like she was like, this is the dress. And I was kind of in with her on that. Like I was like, this is beautiful. Like this is amazing. It's a panina. Like it's gorgeous, whatever. So then I asked her, I was like, do you think I could try on the dress that I saw on Instagram that I showed you? And she was like, yes, let me go grab that. So she went and grabbed it for me and I saw it again in person. And again, I just got that feeling of like, this is literally the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I took off the other dress and I put the new dress on and I literally couldn't even remember. I couldn't even remember what this dress, like what the old dress looked like when I put on the new dress. I couldn't even remember because it was so beautiful. And again, she came in to like help me get the everything clipped in and everything. And she was basically like, what do you think? And I was like, I am in love. And again, she matched my energy perfectly. Like she was immediately like, yes, amazing. We love this. Which obviously is just what a good salesperson does, but it also felt good to have somebody like backing me up. Like we were talking about how even though this dress didn't have the drop waist that the other one did that was really flattering, because it was so much poofier, it hit at a really good place. And like, she knew her stuff basically. I felt very confident with Debbie's sort of critiques and whatever. So I went out in the dress and everybody loved it. I stood in this dress for probably 45 minutes. And this is when things got, oh, by the way, when I was in the Panina dress, I got to meet another girl who's on the show all the time, the assistant to Panina. I think her name was Alex. I got to meet her. She came over and talked to me about alterations and was like super great. And then I also, when I was in this other dress, I got to meet the assistant to the designer of this dress. And I also met like 4 of her assistants because what ended up happening with this particular dress was I was wearing it. The assistant came over. She was like, first of all, she was so sweet. She was like, you look absolutely beautiful. Like this dress is stunning on you. She was like, you know, what questions can we answer? She showed me what the dress would look like when it was in my size and kind of how that would adjust things. Cause the dress I think was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 sizes smaller than I was normally. So it was a little tight in some places. So she was telling me like where things would hit in my correct size. And we were talking about that. And then she was like, you know what's weird? She was like, I think this dress has sleeves. And then she came over with her iPad and she showed me and she was like, yeah, the dress had the literal sleeves that I wanted. So the draping sleeves around the arm, it came with the dress. So I wouldn't even need to order like extra fabric and like construct a sleeve. The sleeves literally came with the frickin' dress. So she was showing me the pictures and everything. And she was like, let me go find these sleeves for you so I can like accurately show you what it's gonna look like. And at this point, I'm not kidding. There was like 3 people running around Kleinfelds trying to find me these sleeves. And I was ready to get the dress without this. I didn't care to see the sleeves. Like she showed me the picture that was good enough for me. I was like in love with the dress as is. Like I didn't even care about that. But they were all running around trying to find the sleeves, trying to show me. And finally she came back and she was like, these aren't the exact sleeves, but it's a sleeves off a different dress that has a similar fabric. So she kind of showed me what like that would look like. And at this point I was like, Debbie, let's say yes to the dress. Like I was so ready to go. And during that time too, they really gave us time to not be like breathing down our necks. Like I really appreciated that. Debbie, the consultant Debbie would like often walk away and give us a few minutes to like talk, me, my mom and my mother-in-law to like talk about it and have like honest discourse about what we liked or didn't like, which in this case, we liked everything about the dress. But I love that she wasn't like constantly honest about it. I think it just gave me time to get like honest feedback. Cause you know how sometimes when there's like the person there, you feel weird giving the honest feedback. feedback. I felt like they were both able to be very honest and also take like a ton of pictures and videos. Like I have so much footage of me in this dress. But so then I decided during that time that I really, like, it meant a lot to me to have the moment. Like initially I wasn't going to do the whole like saying yes thing because I just wasn't sure. But once I was in the dress and just feeling how I felt, like I just felt literally like the most beautiful person on the planet. Like I can't describe it. I was surrounded by other gorgeous women and I felt like equally as gorgeous as all of the people around me. Like I was just so happy in this dress. And so I decided then that because I never got my like say yes moment with the first dress, like I kind of like went in, had to put it over my body and like couldn't even really try it on, and then I had to call back a few months later to like place the order. Like I never got my moment. So I decided I wanted my moment. So it was very cute. They were like, we had everybody filming, and she was so sweet. She was like, what lighting do you want? Do you want the dimmed lighting? Do you want the studio lighting? Because she knows that like everybody wants the video of you saying yes to the dress at Kleinfelds. It was very sweet. They asked you the question. They're like, are you saying yes to the dress? And then you got to say yes, and then you cheer, and then everyone around you who was like kind of in the other area cheered for you and like told you how pretty you looked. It was a really positive experience. And I have to say, one of the fun parts of being at Kleinfelds was just every like 10 minutes or so, you would hear this like loud cheer arise from somewhere in the bridal salon. And you knew that that meant that somebody had like said yes to the dress. It was really cute. I don't know. Maybe I'm buying way too much into this whole thing, but it was really adorable. Like it was honestly such a sweet experience. Debbie was so kind. I ended up getting a little Kleinfeld bag that was super cute. It was like a little tote bag that I got. I made the process of like paying and doing all of that super easy. I had to fill out some paperwork and like look over a contract they had. I decided that I am gonna do my fittings at Kleinfelds, even though it'll be, I think it's 3 trips I have to make back to the city. Because I live kind of close, I figure it'd be good to use their services. And also I've just heard wonderful things about their alterations department. Because my dress doesn't need that many alterations. That was the other thing I loved about this dress. My first dress, like I told you guys, was gonna need so much work. This one is like perfect. Like it needs to be hemmed and maybe like brought in a couple places, like basic alterations, and that's it. Like there's nothing that needs to be redone. It's perfect as is, and I love that. And also, while I go back for some of those appointments, I'll probably make an appointment to do the accessories. They did offer, while I was there, a headpiece and a veil. They had this girl come pick out a bunch of stuff for me, which by the way, the girl was very sweet and she was also very good at picking accessories. Like she picked stuff that was genuinely gorgeous. I didn't really want to pull the trigger on the veil or like a headpiece or something just really quickly. I felt like I feel like, and this is no shade because the stuff was beautiful, but like the stuff they had there was very expensive. Like very expensive for like a headband that had sparkles on it. And I was like, when Etsy exists, I just feel I feel weird doing that. However, my mom made a good point that it might be good. The veil that they put me in was the veil that the designer had made to match that particular dress. And I did look back at pictures and I ended up really loving how that veil looked. So when I go back for my alterations appointment, I likely will place an order for that veil, even though it was more than I wanted to spend on a sheer piece of fabric. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to try to find something very similar on Etsy, like kind of a dupe of it, because I really don't want to pay that. Anyway, doesn't matter. But they offer you all that stuff too. I declined it for this particular sort of thing. But they made the financing super easy. It took like literally 2 minutes to do the financing and to pay for everything. And then I left and it was all a whirlwind. And overall, it was just such a lovely day. The consultants that were working were just so sweet. Every single person I met was nothing but kind and made me feel just like so beautiful. They really made it feel like how you would imagine the brides feel on the show. And I just wasn't expecting that. I was like, there's no way it's actually like that, where they actually have all these people running around to help you and they actually have people that are so like good at their job. Like, I don't know. It was crazy to see and it was really a fun experience. I have to say, I think I had built it up so much in my head because I had wanted to go there since I was like 14, and it really exceeded all of my expectations. Like it was truly a magical, wonderful experience, and I was so happy that I got to share it with my mom and my mother-in-law and like had that experience with them, and getting to say yes to like my dream dress at my dream wedding store was just an amazing experience. It was so much fun. And also if you're around the city, or even if you're not and you're like willing to make the journey, it really was awesome. Like, I don't know if I'm just kind of a fangirl and I like bought into it too much, but I had a wonderful time. Everybody was so nice, and I would highly recommend it, especially if you're somebody who's plus size. They never once made me feel like I was like burden for being plus size, or like they didn't have options for me because I was plus size. Like, everything that I wanted to try was an option, and that's not an experience I had at a lot of the dress stores that I went to. I was constantly being faced with like seeing pretty things that I liked and not being able to try it on. So going to a place where most of the things I saw were an option was like well worth the journey there and the money I spent on the dress. So that was my Kleinfelds story. If you guys have any questions about anything, let me know down below. I'm so excited for next year. I want to show everybody the dress now. I'm literally the worst. I was like this with my prom dress too. I like can't. I want to show Charles. Like, I want to show everybody the dress because I just love it so much. But I also think I'll regret it if it's not like that big little surprise. You guys will see the dress next year that I ended up picking, but I can assure you, I think it's beautiful. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about Kleinfelds or anything, leave them down below. I'd love to talk about it, love to answer them. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below, along with my social justice spotlight. You can go check that out down there as well. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!